on page 12, we've got some functions that we're going to learn here. If you take a look at operations with functions, we've got f of, what is it, g plus h, or it's f plus g. Did I say that right? Oh, f plus g, I did do it wrong. All right. Let's clear that puppy. It's parentheses f plus g of x. Does everybody remember what a function is? A function, if I have a function f of x, and I say it equals x squared plus 2x plus 1, and I turn around and I can put a number in for x here, I can make this f of 1. So this is 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 1. I replace the x with the 1. What's that?
Why didn't you show us that yesterday when no one got it? Because I get it now.
This is something different. This is something. What's that? Have you learned that before? Yeah. Okay, this part here where we replace the x, if we made this, let's say we got rid of the x, or the 1, and we said this was f of 2. You didn't. Don't you do that to me. Oh. If I had... If I had f of 2, all right, and let's say my x squared in that, it would be 2 squared plus 2 times 2 plus 1. We're just replacing whatever the x is with a number inside of it. All right, you guys remember how to do that? Okay, good. What's that? Because I like my finger. Yep. See, I can draw with my pinky. I can draw with my ring finger. I can draw with my middle finger. It all looks the same. All right. So we have this, f in parentheses g. In other words, we have two functions. We have an f of x function and we have a g of x function on this. That's what it says. And when we add these two functions together, that's in this type of form, it's the same as saying f of x plus g. Well, let's make my g small. G. You booger. G of x. That's a g. All right. So if we add them together this way, it's the same as saying it like this. Okay? If we subtract them, the same can be said. F minus g of x equals f of x minus g of x. So adding and subtracting work the same way. Whatever the sign is in here, we split them up and we use that sign here. Okay? What about the product? F times g of x. Looks the same, doesn't it, Maddie? F of x times g, well, that's an ugly g, of x. All right, and the same goes for division. There's two ways we can look at this. We can say f of x divided by g of x, or we can say it f of x over g of x. All right? You're going to be working with this in your assignments. They're going to give you something that says this. All right? And they may say find the f g of x, f times g of x. You're going to have to go find that. Any questions on how that works? When you see that, how you break them out. Okay. You have another function. If you take a look on the next page, page 13, you're going to see this. Do not mistake this for times. It's an open circle. All right? Do not mistake this for times. Here's what this means. It's f of g of x. Now, what does that mean? There you go. So you're going to be given, let's say, of g of x. Here it's going to equal x plus 2. And f of x equals 2x squared minus 1. I'm just throwing something out there. Okay? And what it says here is that I'm going to put a number in here. Let's give x number 1. All right? X, let's say x equals 1. You understand this? Not getting what I'm doing here yet? Okay. If you have this here, okay, it really means that you got g of x within f of x. So if I tell you x is 1, okay, we're going to first put it into our g of x right here. And we're going to say g of 1 equals 1 plus 2, okay? 1 plus 2, which equals 3. Now we're going to take that 3 and we're going to put it in here. So we've got f of, I don't want to do that. We've got f of 3 equals, and now we can figure out using that 3 what this is. 2 times 3 squared minus 1. 9 times 2 is 18 minus 1 is 17. That would be your answer for something like this. See how we're doing that, Danielle? Okay. Maddie, got her, rocking it. Kayla? Michael? I put 1 in here. So we took this and put it into this part here. Okay? That figures out my g of x. Once I get my answer for my g of x, then I can pop it into my f of x and figure out what the final answer is. Okay? We're good with that? Everybody got that? Yeah. Well, sure it does. This one here? This up here? That's what I wanted to figure out. I wanted to do this here. Okay? I wanted this one here. Using this with these two equations, all right?
So, like, you just made up the equation.
I just made up these here, yes. All right? But this up here, that's what this means. And remember, that's an open circle there. That's not saying multiply. All right? It's actually f of g of x is what that stands for. Fog x. But that can be... But it can be like this too. Goff of x. What would that be? G would be on the outside, hey? Like that. All right? Now if we had our two equations, what were they? X plus 1? What was it? I don't remember what that was. X plus 2? Equals x plus 2. And f of x was 2x squared plus 2 or minus 2? Minus 1. Now it'd be totally different. No, I had g of x and f of x. What's that? Okay. But what we do is if I said x equals 1 here again, we would put 1 into the f of x first because we have to find that first. All right, that's what it tells us. We have to find the f of x first. So we plop that in. F of 1 equals 2 times 1 squared minus 2, which equals 4. What's that? Minus 1. All right, minus 1. So we'd have 4 minus 1, which is 3. All right, I got 3 now, and I'd plop that back into my g of x. Because that's what's inside. Remember order of operations? You're going to work the inside parentheses first, then the outside parentheses. That's the same thing you're doing here. This is the way they show it in the book, so I should teach you that way. All right, so I put my 3 back in here, which would be g of 3 equals 3 plus 2, which 5. 2 squared is 4, minus 1 is 3. Oh, I am wrong. I was squaring everything. Actually, I say, don't darn it. Yeah, well, I can't even multiply and add right. All right. So yeah, this is 1. 2 times 3 minus 1 is 1. So we're going to put 1 back in here. So 1 plus this is 1, which would equal 3. I make mistakes. All right. See how we did that? Everybody good with this? How we can interchange it? Attaboy. Okay. Inverse functions. F of x is a function. All right? The inverse of f of x looks like this. It's got prime here. F prime of x means inverse function. F prime of x. This is how we figure out our f prime of x. If I have f of x equal to x plus 2, first thing we do is replace the f of x with y. Y equals x plus 2. Now we switch our x's and y's around. All right? There could be multiple x's over here, and you're going to have to replace those with y's. But in this case here, we're going to switch it around. That's all we do. This is going to make us the inverse function. All right? I just switched my x's and y's around. F prime. It's the f inverse. You can say f prime or f inverse. It's an inverse function of f of x. Now I'm going to solve for y. So we switched it around. We just replaced the f of x up here with y. Okay? Replace the f of x up here with y. That's how we're going to figure out. I'll show you. Just stay with me on this. It's inverse. We're going to inverse this. So we replace f of x with y, and we got our same equation. Now, wherever there's an x, we put a y in for it. And wherever there's a y, we put an x in for it. Okay, we're switching them around. And now we solve this equation for y. All right? I'm going to subtract 2 on this side, subtract 2 on this side, and I'm going to say y equals x minus 2. This here is your f prime of x, or inverse function. So my f inverse function of this first one up here is going to be x minus 2. We'll do another one. This is just this is the first time seeing this stuff. We'll do another one here. Okay? Yeah, and that's what you're doing. You're finding the inverse. And you find the inverse off the original equation. Just replace the f of x with y, switch your x and y's around, and then solve for y, and then that'll leave you with your inverse. Just do. Just do. Okay, let's try it. Let's try this one. F of x equals x squared minus 2. All right, let's make this y. I haven't got there yet. Haven't got there yet. We're going to get it. That's what we're going to work towards, is getting the inverse function of x, of f of x. Because I just showed you what it was. Over here I showed you the function of x, what it looks like, and what the inverse function of x looks like. Stick with me on this, okay? You'll see how it works. All right? We're doing the same thing. But we're doing it with a different equation now. Now my function of x is x squared minus 2. Kyle's question was, why didn't we just say x minus 2? X plus 2 to x minus 2. Why didn't we do that? I'll show you, because it doesn't always work out like that. So what do I do first? I replace my f of x with y, right? Now I switch these around, right? So this is going to be x equals y squared minus 2. Okay? Now we have to solve for y. A square, yeah. That's what inverse is. You'll catch on what we're doing here. Okay? Now I'm going to solve. Wait till you see the problems and see what it comes up with. All right? I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So I'm going to solve for y. X plus 2 equals y squared. I'm going to square root both sides. Y equals the square root of x plus 2. Let me ask you something. Is that correct? Is it correct? When I take the square root of something, what am I supposed to have? A positive and a negative, right? Plus or minus. Whether they do this in the book or not, I don't know. I don't care. But that would be the correct answers. Plus or minus the square root of x plus 2. Okay. Let's do one more. Let's take one out of the book. Which one? Oh, I haven't. Okay, I can finish it going like this. F prime of x equals plus or minus the square root of x plus 2. That would be your inverse function of this one. These are inverses. Nope, that would be it. All right. Good with this? All right, let's do one out of the book. Let's see. All right. F of x. I'm not telling you. 4x plus 4. Yep. Go ahead and work it. See what you can come up with. Work it. Work it. F of x equals 4x plus 4. I'm doing an exercise video, huh? So I'm just talking on here answering. You don't know what the question is. They can see it on the board. They can see it on the board as I'm talking here. What do you come up with, Michael? Come on. Okay, first thing you have to do is make this y. So put y equals 4x plus 4. No, 4x plus 4. No. Eventually, yeah, well, this is the order we do it. Now switch those around. Make it x equals 4y plus 4. And now solve for y. Solve for y. You can do it. Bring the 4 over. Okay. What's the first thing we do here? Somebody tell me. We put in y. So we put y in for f of x, right? First thing we do is put y in for that. What's the next thing we do, Kaylee? We switch them around, right? Switch the x and y. X equals 4y plus 4. Now we solve for y, right? We put y by itself. We have to have something that says y. When we solve for y, we have to set it y equals something, right? So the first thing we have to do is we got to get rid of this 4. Minus 4 both sides. X minus 4 equals 4y. Okay? So next thing we got to do, Maddie. Not with us, huh? Oh. Kayla, what do we have to do next? What do we have to do? We want to put y by itself. So what do I have to do? Divide by 4, right? Divide by 4 both sides. So we have now y equals x minus 4 over 4. No, if you do it, then you have to put x over 4. We can rewrite this like this. Y equals 1/4 x minus 1. Or we can do it x over 4. Same difference. 1/4 x or x over 4. It's cool. Okay. Now, what do we have to do next? F inverse function of x. F prime of x. What does it equal, Michael? X minus 4 over... Oh, 1 x over 4, you want to write it like this? Okay. Minus 1. All right. Don't go into my world. You really don't want to be in my world. All right. Does everybody understand what we're doing here? Kayla, you got a better understanding? This is it. This is it. Got it, Kaylee? Got it? Cool. Kayla, got it? I'm not worried about yesterday's. All right. Page 11, or page 17, I'm sorry, page 17. Page 17, I want you to do 17, 19, 21. Skip 19, we'll do 21. $28 and $30. $28 and $30, and I want you guys to do. I want you to do A, B, and C. 32. A, B, and C. All right? A, B, and C. We did that already. Went through and did it.